I like this recording thing. It means I don't have to take notes. Right. Okay. So by far the most happened to Zen and Hallows. So in addition, Zen is the first person on the character keeper. So I guess Jason, you want to bring us up to speed on from Zen's point of view what's happened.
Sure, I can do that. Also, I should just note up front that I won't be able to make it next week.
That's
so this
right.
is
Yes.
This is Zen's finale.
Okay.
I believe is how that's
We will
pronounced.
try to give you time for a complete story arc here.
So the recap, rolling back a little bit, is that so Zen's former bounty hunter gang, now mostly just mercenary gang and local gang in the station, wants to be able to establish themselves. Part of the necessary items to do that is to have a signet ring, specifically one stolen from the aristocratic class of the above. And if you don't have one of those, you're basically not a gang leader. So Zen needs a ring and went to Lenny. Lenny had a suggestion of where to find one, and we created a delegation to pose as merchants and visit an aristocratic family of gelatinous cubes who live up kind of their dwelling is attached to the ceiling, literally above everyone. And we arranged to visit them as merchants with various fancy fabrics and I think some fruit. I don't remember, but some things were available to do that, and the goal, at least partially, was to get in there and possibly steal a signet ring. And the visit went like we were approaching across a big jittery bridge, and then we were sort of followed by a hover car or escorted by a hover car up to the house, the entrance of the house. We went inside. We were welcomed. The gelatinous cube family is interested in doing business for these silks and fabrics and other goods. And at some point, I forget who popped out of the side room. Zen was in the process of noticing the signet ring on the desk and thinking, I could just help myself to that. But it was somewhat unresolved. And then I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details of what was happening at that point. So I'm open to input.
So I'm playing Hallows, who is a former warlord, now playing the other playbook. And I am a disgrace among my people who are known for their warring, I guess. And so I believe that if I bring back an enemy of my people who happens to be what was the name? Oh, I need to get the relationship map up.
Myerscough.
Myerscough. I thought if I brought Myerscough back to my people, they would forgive me for what I did and accept me back. So while Zen was negotiating, I snuck away and got a jar, and I believe near the end I was coming out to try and scoop up the gelatinous Myerscough in my jar when the protocol droid or machine not only saw me but recognized me and announced me with my full name. And I think that's where we left off.
Yeah, in mid lunge toward Myerscough, I think, if I remember right.
Yes.
On a quick side note, Zen may think he is posing as a merchant, but from Lenny's perspective, he is a merchant.
I was going to say that's the other part, is Lenny actually sent us to make a deal, and I said I would trade, and then totally ditched that bargain as soon as I saw my goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there'll be drama.
And Lenny thought he was doing you a favor by letting you make this trade because your claim was that you wanted to build up a business.
I might be a liar.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. The best kind of liar.
I had completely missed that. I thought Lenny was in on it, but he's not.
I mean, like, it was sort of like, I will present you with this opportunity, Zen, to get the signet ring, and provide you, and Hallows will help, and I'll help Hallows out by giving her this opportunity to build up her profile as a dealer and a trader. Plus, I'll make some money on these goods that my supplier gave me. It was like win-win-win from my perspective, but then it was not.
And I think the other thing that's interesting and plays into that is I think Lenny, the relationship was Hollows is a mark, and I'll manipulate her into working for me. And mine with Lenny was he seems to have practical morals and would make a good ally. But I don't understand the word ally, I don't think.
I think it's also worth noting that Zen is not particularly accustomed to subterfuge. Having been a bounty hunting mercenary of like, here, you're hired to go do this. Okay, I will go do that. And having to sneak in here and be subtle about who he is has gone sort of medium to Midland. So just worth noting as well.
We were also both recognized even before the AI announced Seraphina the Betrayer, because there was that radio signal that went out when your escort saw you. So that's not going to bite anyone at all. Cool. So I think that kind of gets us up to speed as to what is currently happening and what's going on. I don't know where it went, but I do remember enough of it. So the instructions on like framing a scene are first you look at if something obviously has to happen. And I think something obviously has to happen here. Which is that we need to resolve this kidnapping attempt.
So how do we resolve like the kind of contested conflict? Do I look at like my strengths, or what would make sense?
Also, just for sort of visual reference, you're coming at the gelatinous cube with a jar. I was picturing the gelatinous cube as a sort of 10-foot tall D&D cube, but maybe they're different sizes, and I'm just wondering if you're hoping to scoop up a piece of the thing or like capture an entire cube.
So I was thinking about that too. I think I was imagining that I could like scoop up a piece, and maybe they're almost like a hive mind where that piece would still be like part of the blob.
Oh, that's super cool. Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I carry a big enough jar to like get the whole blob.
Okay. So the order of things happening when there's contested, or I guess this isn't so much contested yet, but it could be. Are first, any non-threatening situation moves, including those by a secondary character, happen immediately if they're needed. Which I think
might that be my scooping up a ring?
No, you're not a situation.
Oh,
you're okay. Yeah. I don't know who the focal character is here. You kind of both are. I think it was Zen, and like it's turning into.
I think it's Cass. Yeah, Cass's move here, I think, is the focal point.
Yeah,
we haven't been tracking that really. We sort of just been like jumping in and out with scenes, which it's worked, but it's sometimes.
This is the first like complicated one.
Yeah,
I thought I'd actually look at the thing.
I kind of feel like, I mean, I'd be okay with Zen being the focal point because I feel like I left the scene and in some ways almost see this as more of a distraction as they're trying to steal the ring. So I don't know if we want to like start with that focal point.
I guess I'm technically framing the scene, and
Oh,
I am
okay.
completely cool with like you two just sort of playing it out. Uh, did we decide how many like gelatinous cube people are here? I know that
I was
there's,
under the impression it was 3 or 4 people or less.
yeah, I don't think it was a lot. I think it was like Myerscough and maybe their kids or something, or employees, or I don't know.
Hangers on and retainers.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. And okay, so any immediate reaction to a weakness being activated. I don't think anyone activated a weakness this time. So next, otherwise, the primary character's actions happen first, with any complications being resolved immediately. I think that's pretty much where we are with this, which is that Zen is going for the ring, and Hallows, whose name I will remember eventually, is lunging at Myerscough. And the other gelatinous cubes kind of turn to look, but Hallows is kind of halfway to Myerscough, so
It works great for me to sort of slink back and let that happen and
Yeah.
allow some chaos to unfold.
cool.
So we now someone should introduce a complication. Is that the like something that complicates this attempt on the like I'm still not sure exactly how to resolve this right move this attempt to capture the cube.
Yeah, I think like the complication was that like Hallows is not able to sneak up on Myerscough quite as much because of that, the AI announcing her name. So people are noticing just as she's doing this. But if you have a complication to throw in either at Hallows or Zen, that would be cool.
Right. I mean, I just like I have a hard time imagining that they're just going to let her do whatever she's doing there. So I think maybe what happens, Hollows, is that you're trying to get the some of this jello flesh into the jar, and what happens is like it kind of solidifies around your hand.
Ooh.
It kind of solidifies around your hand, and you feel it vibrate. Right? We talked about how they communicate through vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel it vibrate, and then you hear the I don't know whether it's home or whether it's the local resident AI, probably the local resident AI, sort of translating for Myerscough. What's the line? We have alerted we have alerted security. Please do not resist. Things will go poorly for you. I don't know. Is that too much? I'm
No,
still
I
like
like that.
a little uncomfortable with some of the like
I think
how
that
exactly this is supposed to play out in situations like this.
I think that's good. It's like you're not supposed to directly threaten the primary character until you've until it's been like worked up to, and I think we've worked up to it.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. So have like my hand in the jar sort of like stuck in the blob is what it sounded like. And I hear that alert, and I think I say let them come, and then I try to like slide an arm under the blob as if I'm gonna kind of try and like pick it up and see, sort of in some ways see how people react. And out of the corner of my eye, I'm keeping like a little bit of attention on Zen, but I don't want to look at them. Um, because part of me does feel like the signet ring is important too. So I'm like trying to like slide my arm under the blob and see if I can lift it and start like stepping away a little bit. Trying to keep kind of the focus of everyone's attention on me.
They are definitely, all of their attention is on you. You're pick up and steal their patriarch. So
I wonder if I can use this opportunity to pocket this ring that was on the desk, and how I might do that.
So, unless you want to activate a weakness, I don't really have a complication. I think there are enough complications in this scene already. Although, if you would like to activate a weakness, I'm sure we can come up with one.
I don't think I have a weakness that suits here. I have a rival gang, and that I love my gang like a family. So I'm not sure one of those is the good fit, which is probably okay, I think, in this situation.
I don't remember. Is Jasper present also?
Jasper is not present.
Okay, I just didn't remember.
They were not in on this plot at all.
Well, if it's all right, I'd really like to pocket that ring and then maybe pull a weapon and make room for us to try to escape. I say, okay, look, she's got what she's got, and we're going to be leaving, and you'll hear from us soon.
Okay, I actually do have a complication. Because the authorities have been alerted, the household AI obviously has cameras everywhere. This is all being recorded and watched in real time by the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
So that may become an issue, but right now it doesn't matter a lot.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the cube releases Cass. Sorry, not Cass, Hallows. Right? You're threatening them, so they're gonna release Cass. But you hear that you hear the household AI. You feel Cass Hallows feels the vibrations, and then as she's being released, and the household AI says, in what is a shockingly non-villainous voice, actually, you're not going to get away with this.
Right. Well, Home, if you could do anything about that recording, it would be appreciated. Hallows, perhaps we should take our leave?
Here's a question I have. Does Hallows successfully manage to take part of the cube with her?
I think so.
Yeah. So, like, one thing that may complicate that, just like, is that not only is this like they are going, as opposed to simply being miffed at this interruption, but pleased that they got the goods for free and maybe writing it all off as a win, right? If Hallows walks out with that, they're going to be gunning for you.
So I think what Hallows wants to do is I want to back up towards where the goods are, sort of displaying the jar with the piece of the cube in it, and maybe sort of flourish my hand towards the goods and say, Now the negotiation begins. Don't these goods look so very, very beautiful now? How much would you like them so that you can enjoy them? And I sort of like hold out the jar over them, um, sort of implying like, give me lots of money and I will set this jar right down here with all the goods.
I mean, I think the response here is to offer fair value with the goods for the goods. Very, very happy to make that deal, but we don't negotiate with terrorists. And we may be happy to pretend none of this happened if you're willing to settle down, return what you have taken, and continue our negotiations. And that, they're lying through their teeth, stalling for security to show up, right?
Yeah.
No, right? But we're not paying you more than than a fair value for what you've brought us.
I think Zen pipes in here and says, also being translated through his sign language friend, or Home was translating, I think. Look, now I've dealt with my share of terrorists, and honestly, some of them are very nice people. And it's clear to me that you're not willing to deal fairly with the fact that we have these goods and a piece of your person. It seems like you don't want it very badly, and you're just going to wait for security to show up and not do a fair deal with us. Hallows, I think we should leave.
I nod and I say, exactly, my apprentice. If they will not deal when we have made such a fine display of all we have to offer, then they are not worth our time. And I sort of like wave at, I think it's, I tell you, order your crew to depart with us. Let's leave nothing behind.
Yeah, and I'll sort of indicate to everyone to sort of pack up what we brought, and I imagine we have some ability to like just bail out of here.
That's what I was going to ask. Have you made any plans here?
Right, there's that narrow bridge you got to get across,
Right.
and security is going to be swarming it right about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my mind, I have this like repulsor, not jetpack, but like slow your fall sort of thing. But I don't know if that's the sort of thing that's common or I just made up in my head. It doesn't have to be that.
It's common now.
Only that we have this high-tech armory at the for our gang, and I thought that might be although actually I don't have a token to invoke a strength, so I don't think I can actually do that. So
no, you can totally do that. Just anybody can introduce a complication if they like, but you can.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think we would head out and sort of indicate that we're going to use these drop packs.
All right. So the complication is that you only have one.
Okay. How much of my crew is here?
I don't remember.
I think we said maybe 3 or like 4.
Yeah. So I think what I would want to have do is like maybe one of those packs could cover 2 people and encourage. So I think as we're moving, Zen would try to encourage Cass to go with. Hold on, I have some gang names, some of my members' names here. We have. Yeah, Natanya, my second in command. I'm indicating that she should work with Hallows, get Hallows out of here, and then Zen is going to lead the run across the bridge and hopefully draw fire that way.
So I'd kind of like to invoke a strength with that I do not have a token for, so I'm sure this will get complicated. Which is I have concealment, so somehow like using the fabrics or something to make us less visible as we sort of jet down. Like, I don't know if there's like dark fabrics or something.
I mean,
Makes sense.
right? They can be chameleon fabrics.
Nice.
I think the complication to that is it's pretty obvious to me. It's so obvious I can't not use it. Is that you're running across this bridge, and they can't see you, so they just shoot the bridge.
Well, I think they can see me. I was going to have Hallows and Tanya just drop off the edge using that repulsor pack.
Okay.
But Zen is running across the bridge with several of his gang members.
Okay. Well, in that case, yeah, I think they'll still just shoot the bridge rather than try to aim at individual people. But yeah, in that case, I think Hallows and Natanya kind of can get away.
That works for me.
Okay. Run, apprentice.
I will, as soon as I have ground beneath me.
Right. The one other detail is I definitely wrap the jar in fabric, because if it's a hive mind, I'm trying to like hide what it is perceiving.
It's a good idea.
So I guess that'd be like the end of my part in the scene, is just kind of throwing the chameleon fabric over us, and then we sort of disappear.
I like that.
And I'm trying to grab on to this falling bridge and swing as it's like swinging down, try to hang on to it for as much as I'm worth, and then figure out how to get down from there.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know how high this is in relation to the length of the bridge.
I wasn't sure either.
I guess it has to be pretty high in order to, make it worth the effort to do this. And like they use hover vehicles to get up there.
Right. There's like an obvious kind of, I feel, way to like have a next step, and both give Zen a chance to be awesome, but also maybe make some vulnerable. I don't know, which is right. Like at this point, it's not just local security, right? But station security has shown up, and they have. You have landed on a security hover. Whatever, right? They're trying to apprehend you and take you into custody.
Right.
It's like and so you're now there and free to do something, but also kind of constrained by that. I don't know if that's too constraining.
Well, I'm open to that.
Some awesome Indiana Jones shit here, and I'm
right
in favor of it, personally.
Yeah, I'm picturing Zen and probably the two gang members that are left here, dropping onto that security and it's
like a hover sled. There's probably like a pilot and three security officers, right? Armed security officers there, and like with space, with like with holding space and restraints, like trying to.
And probably weren't expecting three people to drop onto the sled,
right?
I think we would try to, fight them off and just plummet the sled, like just nosedive the sled until we could pull up at the last minute and dive off.
Nice. I mean, look, where are you diving off?
In some part of the below.
I didn't have a particular destination in mind or anything.
Yeah.
Could turn this into the Warriors, right? You end up in Mercy's territory.
I think that makes the most
sense.
Yeah.
And that might be the end of the scene also.
Yeah. As we're just like bailing off, and we're in trouble. We like bail off, and the thing crashes over, and the security guards are sort of like bashed around a little bit, and then we look up and see the big M that is the Mercy logo icon thing, and We go, oh no.
Awesome. Okay.
So since I only have two other names, I'm going to say Gail and Diego are with me.
Okay.
Not Winky.
No. He's not really a gang member.
Okay.
He's more of a mascot at this point, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I think it makes sense for the next vocal character to be Omega, since we went through the whole session without.
Sure. I realize that Hallows and Omega do not have any relationships defined.
Yeah.
Should we do that, or do we just not worry about it, or?
So I think we established I've been here for maybe a few weeks, mostly hanging out at Lenny's place, sort of hiding, because my weaknesses for future reference are my kind are despised here, and I'm being hunted by deadly enemies. So I don't know for Omega if we would have run into each other, or if Omega's the type of person I would have heard about when I was sort of trying to learn about the area.
Well, if your origin's a former warlord, it's entirely possible that Omega is as an assassin or a member of a military spec ops force worked for or against your warlording. So that could be a possibility.
Yeah. Is Omega sort of like a mercenary assassin, or does Omega have like a loyalty to a certain group?
Right now, Omega has a loyalty to no one. Omega's ended up here, was kicked out of the military and ended up here in the below with no plans for how to get out quite yet.
Then it might be interesting that we were on opposite sides before, but now we're kind of in the same situation.
I like that. Okay. Cool.
Cool.
So, so what has Omega been up to while all this stuff was going on?
I was just it up. Okay. Gosh. I think the things that happened in the first session were a pretty long conversation with Zen, where Zen offered friendship and Omega was probing for information. And then some video game time with Jasper under assumed names. Is that, am I recalling?
That's right.
Correctly?
I had forgotten about the video games. Yeah.
So I think just for ease of use, to insert Omega into things, maybe Omega has just been doing more video games. It's really wasteful and a waste of their talent. So perhaps
I mean, Jasper and more than half of his gang are not currently at the factory. If Omega wanted to do any, I don't know, spying, breaking and entering, information gathering,
that could be
it's an opportunity.
Sure. Okay, so we pick up with Omega breaking into Jasper's stuff.
Yeah, who wants to see Omega talk to Winky?
What?
Cass, do you want to be Winky again?
Sure.
I mean, only if Omega's up to that. I was just it was an idea.
So, Cass, I'll let you make the decision if Winky knows Omega on sight, but Winky had a sister, and Omega had a contract on Winky and the sister, and completed half of that contract. But Winky got away, so...
Winky have seen you in that process?
That's what I'm asking. I'm putting it in. I'm saying you get. I'm comfortable with you deciding if Winky saw or didn't see.
I kind of like the tension that Winky didn't see. And so I probably don't recognize you as the person who killed Winky's sister.
Mhm.
I imagine if I find out you're an assassin, I'll have questions, but
Sure. I'm not sure if Zen would have mentioned with fingers, because Zen doesn't talk out loud. But Zen and Omega were part of the same military force before, and Zen thinks fondly of Omega. And Omega doesn't exactly reciprocate yet. Yeah.
I could imagine that coming up in conversation from Zen's point of view,
Right.
of like, oh, I tried to make friends again, and they're still cold.
Yeah, and he or they are perfectly acceptable pronouns. Omega doesn't correct. Omega doesn't care. Cool. So Omega would, being a hybrid and having this kind of AI half, I would imagine would be pretty darn good at infiltrating and doing some data theft. What do we find in Jasper's warehouse / abode?
Jasper's or Zen's?
Well, you mentioned Jasper's, so I was going with that.
Oh, I
was
did
like,
I say the wrong
Jasper has a
name? I
warehouse.
meant Zen's.
Oh.
Zen's factory is what I was.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I found out that Zen.
Although
is
if you
out.
want to spy on Jasper, that would work too. But I don't know.
That's fine. I was just going with what you said. Yeah. So
sorry.
we'll be at Zen's factory. So what's Zen's factory like? What can I?
This is it was a former, I'm calling it a warp core manufacturing facility. I don't know what that looks like in this world, but it's a like high tech, there's like some fancy physics happening. It's not like the kind of factory with like a steel mill, with this big barrels and molten metal and all that kind of stuff. But it's also decommissioned, and so there's a lot of just kind of stuff sitting around, and we've modified it to be a living space for our gang, and make use of the fact that there's actually some real good electricity and power cabling here, and we have high-tech weapons, so it's nice to be able to sort of keep things up to date and upgraded. And we're not manufacturing warp cores, but we do live here now, so that's the general theme. So whatever that looks like to you is fine.
Cool. I will be looking for computers, data pads, technology to learn more information about your access into below. And I would probably ignore home because home is annoying. Just assuming that.
Yes, that you would probably be aware of home.
Yeah, I imagine you two would clash.
I could see that, yeah.
I mean, this is a question, I guess, to say for Keith, but like home is everywhere, right? Like ubiquitous in the below. So
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't even like necessarily be different.
Although, I wonder, have you found some way to like exclude home from wherever you live?
I would certainly seek to. I'm just kind of glancing over if that's even a thing I can do.
It seems like a thing you could probably do, and it fits. It fits your lack of a relationship with home, and home's lack of a relationship with you. Like it just has not. That you have it like walled out. You have a firewall or something, to prevent it. So you are one of the few like wherever you live is a blind spot.
I wonder if that could introduce the complication that Omega has to live without a lot of the sort of automation and conveniences that a lot of people enjoy.
That totally makes sense to me.
Cool.
Cool. So, I mean, it's not like we're gonna roll dice to see what I get. So, do we just?
So this, I don't think this fits anyone's situation exactly. It's definitely not the above. Maybe gangs.
Yeah, I was looking. Gangs are protective of their neighborhoods, so
It's also, I mean, like, given that the space is Zen space, like, it might make sense unless someone else has like particular ideas about how.
I think gangs make sense. I don't feel a need to sort of arbitrate what happens there, so that I'm not concerned about that.
Okay. So the idea then would be I'm introducing a potential complication or something as Omega is trying to sort of sneak information from this.
Right. Do we do that, or do we just jump to running into Winky? Like, I don't know.
I had one idea, which is if this used to be, did you say like it was a warp core reactor factory?
Yeah, we made warp cores that, whatever it is. Well, we didn't make it. It was a factory that did that, and it was already defunct when we got here. And now we just live here, and we take advantage of the fact that it was a decommissioned but high tech facility.
I imagine maybe what the complication is you're trying to sort of investigate the system. It activates like one of the defunct alarm systems for like warp core meltdown. So you can see maybe like alarms they haven't unleashed yet, but starting to build up of like warp core meltdown, and you can see the messages, and then you can see sort of maybe an alarm system throughout the factory starting to power up that was previously quiet.
Huh. That is not a good stealthy move. I would, of course, try to see if I can shut down these alarms, because there isn't a war core here. It's just an old factory. Must be an error.
So then, are you physically located in the factory as well?
Yes.
I think maybe then as you're like trying to shut it down and you're like successfully keeping it from sending the message, but it's like it almost is in a loop. At that point, Winky walks up behind you and says, "Oh, what is it doing wrong now?" Zen's always swearing at it.
Omega pauses and looks at Winky for a moment, immediately recognizing him. It is saying that there is a warp core breach, but there is no warp core activated. What does he normally do when this happens?
I think he usually yells for home to do something.
Well, no wonder it keeps messing up.
And I look at I think home was teaching me about etiquette for AI, and they said that if a system has been programmed, it must do what it's programmed to do. But sometimes home says he convinces it to think it has done what it was programmed to do.
I'm sure that's the most inefficient way to deal with it, but I'll try that. Then, following that logic, I would try to tell it that the warp core breach has been resolved, rather than telling it it doesn't, that there isn't one, just telling it it's been resolved.
When you finish that, Winky says, "So, are you one of the new recruits? I think we were trying to get new people." I don't know. There was lots of talking I didn't understand.
No, I would not work for Zen.
Oh, you have different standards? What are your standards?
What are you doing here by yourself, child?
I am in my second phase of squid growth. I am only 2 phases away from being an adult, so I can be alone whenever I want.
And who has made up these rules? You?
Well, they're squid. I don't know what Winky's like actual race is. They're that it's just how it is.
Hmm.
Would you
This could
like
get. I'm sorry.
a hot beverage?
No, I would not like a hot beverage. You were left here all by yourself. It doesn't make much sense.
I have a question. Would Zen have ever talked to Winky about like stranger danger?
Yeah, I think yeah, probably in the beginning when because Zen basically kidnapped Winky and had to explain like, look, people are after you. This is a thing you need to be aware of. I'm taking you away from this place because people are after you. And yeah, I think Winky is aware that like people want to harvest squid people's organs, and this is a thing that Winky has to be aware of. And yeah, so we've definitely had conversations like that.
Question related to all of that, maybe for, I don't know, I feel like Omegas and Winky. Yeah. The so like to what extent, like how mature, and I think I know the answer to this because right, we have this line against child violence. It's not a veil. But like to what extent was Winky like aware, like awake, mature enough to recognize what was going on as he and his sister were being pursued and his sister was killed?
I
Um,
think. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I would think that Winky would have been aware of like there are bad people coming and now my sister's dead. So I definitely think that would be there.
So I feel like maybe, like, does Zen need to have spoken to Winky to know about stranger danger?
Well,
Um
either way, Zen would have had a
Right.
conversation about like how to stay safe, and you know, Zen's also like been a bodyguard and a mercenary and all that sort of stuff. So,
mhm.
sort of gave Winky the option of like, oh, you can come stay with us, and we'll like we can't be bounty hunters anymore because our reputation is shot because we didn't bring in this bounty, that sort of thing.
I think what would make sense is as Omega asks if I'm alone again, my answer would be no. The whole gang is here, almost the whole gang. And then I would want to run. Not all the gang members went for the trade, right?
Yeah, only a few. I think we said we're like 8 or 10 people, which is fairly small for other gangs, but we have this like high tech weaponry and highly defensible positions. So that's we're low in numbers, but high in other advantages.
So there are
So I
probably
think
like
I would,
4 more people.
yeah. I'd probably run back to wherever I think they are if Omega lets me.
Yeah, I think Omega has made their decision around Winky and Zen at this point. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to pursue Winky, and instead will get back to data thievery and then leave.
And I guess maybe the complication would be I tell the other gangers you're there, and so maybe someone comes to check out what you're doing, so I don't know how much you would be able to gather before they would show up.
Okay. How do we determine, like, I don't, how do we measure? How do we, like, do we just, I just go?
We did establish that there is an entrance that Zen didn't know about until halfway through last session in the basement. So Omega has the schematics, so they
Okay.
probably know about that.
Cool. So I'll grab what I can and duck out.
Just what do you come away with?
What does Zen have?
I think one of the advantages we have, especially as a small group, is getting intel on how other gangs move around, and particularly getting information on Mercy, where they're a bigger gang than we are, and so we're having to be very strategic and calculating about how we're going to take them on. And also, this is before Zen. So, Rich, I think you weren't here last time when we found out that Zen was supposed to do a proper challenge. Was that the session you were in, or after?
There was a talk of signet rings and aristocracy and stuff.
Yeah. So before we realized, like, oh, I'm supposed to make a proper challenge and do all that, we've been gathering all this information, and that's still kind of going on because we have, spliced into security cameras and monitoring devices, and like we have intel on how Mercy moves around.
Okay, that'd be interesting information.
That's probably the only thing we'd have that would be valuable to someone else.
Well, so speaking of Mercy, I think we should get them on camera.
On camera with Jasper, maybe, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't Jasper accidentally betray them last week?
That hasn't had any fallout yet. So yeah, I think Jasper's trying to protect Mercy's gang, and they're on Mercy's side in this conflict with Zen's gang. I don't think it's because they particularly care who controls the turf. It's because they're specifically protecting someone in Mercy's gang. And also, I think Mercy is like a customer of Jasper's. Mercy maybe wants to consult with the spirits, or a particular spirit even.
I like all of that.
Has anyone played Mercy yet?
No. We know she's the leader of a gang that currently controls this neighborhood.
And they've had some kind of skirmish with Zen and his group.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm gangs, but I'm wondering, Jesse, if you might want to play Mercy since you haven't had as much time in scene.
Sure, I can take Mercy. I'm actually, just for the record here, I'm very happy with Lenny taking a little bit of a backseat today, as like some of this stuff plays out, and maybe he shows up towards the end of the episode confronted with the fallout. But we can sort of see how things go in play. So I say I'm not upset if Lenny doesn't have a major. I'm happy contributing questions and playing secondary characters in the meantime. Anyways, but yeah, I'm happy to. So I'm happy to take Mercy, and I suspect if you're consulting, if we're consulting the spirits, then maybe Rich will come in and do some of that spirit stuff. So yeah, so I think maybe I've called you to not my headquarters. I feel like you're sort of like I mean, you tell me, I guess, is the question. Like, what's your relationship with Mercy and her gang right now? I know that you've sort of sided with them in the conflict, but like, are you really on the inside, or are you someone who's like peripheral?
I think I'm peripheral.
Right.
Yeah, I'm definitely not part of the gang. I think that yeah, I don't know that that this would be, well, no. The question is whether we want Zen to like crash in on the end of this or not.
Oh, I mean, I think I personally think that's an awesome idea. Um, I don't know how Zen or the other players feel about it, but like, so my thinking was sort of that you're not meeting like actually in Mercy's headquarters, where she wouldn't bring someone who's not a full gang member without serious reason, but that there's like a kind of a public space, maybe a park. Um, it's not in great shape. The below is not a place where I think it's like it was something that had been intended to be a park space, like when the entire station was going to be in use. But that when sort of the below became the below, it fell into kind of disrepair, and so it's like this kind of decrepit park space. So there's this. It's actually, here's what I'm imagining. Okay, and I've never been there. I saw a picture of this and I was aghast. And it's actually very nice. But there's this dog park down by the river in like on the Lower East Side in Manhattan. And the thing that always gets me about it, when I've seen like a few pictures of it, the city's been trying to promote it. And it's like this weird thing where it's like it's very nice, it's green, it's pretty, you can see the bridges, but like everything in it is like really fake. And it's like concrete and astroturf, and it's like, and you think dogs want to play here, like, and so I think it's kind of like where like it's it isn't run down like a park gets run down because everything's artificial, but it's like dingy and like the concrete is cracked, like, and like you're like, it probably was never a good idea to begin with, but now it's really not a good idea. And so maybe you find Mercy sitting on a bench, flanked by 4 gang members, 1 on either side and 2 behind her.
Okay. Cool.
Not taking any chances. Yeah, and she's sitting there.
Cool. So only 2 of her gang members have names. They're Helix and Ash.
Right. Remind me which is which. One was the one that you said was going to be. One's the one that is actually going to be in the what we put forward to fight.
Helix is both of those. Jasper thought that Ash was going to be the one sent to duel Zen, but the complication is that it actually is going to be Helix.
So yeah, so Helix is there, and so Helix and Ash are both there, obviously. And do we want to give these other 2 gang members names? Helix, Ash, Beryl, Beryl.
Okay.
And they're right. We decided the Sisters of Mercy are all male gendered. Was that the decision, or?
They're all not women.
Right. Sorry. Right. They're all not women. So we have Beryl, and we have I'm happy if anyone wants to jump in with a name.
Can we just call one Mother Russia?
Great, Mother Russia.
Yep, Mother Russia it is.
Fantastic.
That's Rushya.
Gotta be
Rushya. Okay.
Yep. Perfect. So those are the 4 gang members, and so yeah, she looks at you and she spreads her hands.
Hello, Mercy. I hope you haven't been waiting here long.
I like to get here first.
I know that. And what did you want to ask the spirits today?
There's a little thorn in my side. I thought the spirits might know something about him. Something I could use to remove him. Zen.
And
And I think Mercy's like almost a little bit embarrassed that she has to ask you about this because she doesn't think Zen is worth her attention, but he's been a problem now, and so and she can't quite deal with.
okay. Yeah. So is I guess this is a question for anybody. Is there a particular spirit that Mercy is generally looks or wants to consult, or is it just the spirits in general?
I think it would be interesting if it were the spirit of the restless dead of those who've died at Zen's gang's hands.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, they would know. They would know all about Zen. Some of them would, anyway.
Yes.
People who died here at the station, or just everyone Zen's ever been up against?
At the station. At the station.
How many people has Zen killed at the station?
Probably not a bunch of murder, because Zen also knows the value of like trying to build goodwill and winning hearts and minds and that sort of thing. But I mean, there can't be zero. Maybe half a dozen.
Okay.
In like individual incidents of like, no, we're gonna try and take this territory. Sorry, everybody.
In this neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean anyone who would be a combatant, not just randomly, but yeah,
Maybe it was
something like that.
Like tried to break into the factory or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Or even just like, I mean, you're doing guard runs. You're doing.
Oh, that's right.
Like you're contracting out. You might not like. You may not even know who's like. You killed some guy, but you may not even know.
Yeah, I imagine there's at least a couple of security guards in there. There's a couple of gang members, a couple of locals who wanted to stand up to them, and they had to. Yeah, that covers about 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I have this generous supply of Mesmer 5 that Zen was.
Such beautiful irony.
And I am going to use it.
Like, what does that look like? Like, how is Mesmer 5 ingested? Like, how is it? How is it used?
I think it's absorbed through the skin. I think you don't have to ingest it. You don't have to inject it or anything. You just like pour, like, take the little tube, and I think like Jasper sort of cups their hand and just slowly pours it onto their palm, and it just like it doesn't ever overflow because it just like absorbs in.
Mesmer 6, though, you have to actually use an eyedropper and like drop it into your eye, and it's inky black. It turns your whole eye while it's in effect. Your whole whites and the iris are all obsidian.
Nice.
We're gonna have to get some Mesmer 6 on screen before the end.
We do, and I know how to make it.
Uses. Oh, good.
Yeah, you just need Winky.
Yeah.
That's gonna be sad.
Maybe we just chop off a few tentacles. Maybe we can, convince some cybernetic tentacles. It'll be fine. We'll trade off for it. It's good, guys. We're good.
Ink donation. Okay. Yeah. So what do you?
Yeah, I think I do this, and I'm just. I don't think I know the names of everyone that Zen has killed.
Rich is our czar of the spirits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a general call for like, yeah, the restless dead who have been victims of Zen and his gang, and wait to hear an answer.
The first person you hear from is a member of the Sisters of Mercy named Wander, who was in an earlier tussle with Zen. Maybe the example for Sisters of Mercy to consider this Zen's gang a new threat.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, look at Mercy, and I'm like, well, I'm in contact with Wander. Do you want to hear from him?
The fact that you're even talking to Wander means they don't have anything I need right now.
What? No.
I need someone closer.
Oh, and Wonder starts pacing back and forth and kicking things with their boots. But
Sorry, Wander.
no, tell.
What? Okay, what?
Tell Mercy. I watch. I see. I know. I know where Zen is weak. He protects a child. Tell him that. Tell Mercy.
Yeah. He says he does know something about Zen. There's a child he's protecting.
Squid child.
Squid child.
And that's a Lenny move. Sorry. I think she strokes her nose as she's thinking that's her, sort of like, and she says, Wander was always full of shit, but that sounds true. Does he know how I can get at this squid?
No, tell him I'm pissed now. Walks up to Mercy, starts like.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna answer now.
Okay, and I know a ton.
Yeah, sure.
Full of shit. You're full of shit.
Sure. Oh, I've missed these games. I have not missed these games, Jasper. Wander, if you're listening. This is what he used to do. This is how he used to play it.
Yeah, I think he just stomped off.
Means he never had anything worth hearing to begin with. Okay. So maybe the squid child is real and maybe it isn't, Jasper. What can you do to confirm this for me?
I kind of look at the the other spirits. Does anyone know about a child associated with Zen, a squid child? Anyone?
Just out of character for a second. Jasper knows about Squid Child, right? Are you like deliberately withholding that information? You met Winky when you were in there.
Oh, that's right, I did.
It's up to you. I just wanted to put that in play.
I'm
like you can
withholding that information because like Mercy comes to me for this specific skill, and I don't want her to think that she can just ask me. Like, no, she has to do it.
You are manipulative and secretive.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to reveal that like there are things so I might, if none of them know, reveal this as if a spirit told me, but I'm not going to just tell her what I know as a mundane thing.
All right. Is that invoking a weakness? Is that what you're?
That is, yeah, absolutely. I am manipulative and secretive, and that is a weakness.
Okay, so does anyone have a complication here? Because I don't.
Specifically related to being manipulative.
Well, like the lie here, I guess, and the
I
manipulation.
have an idea for that complication. Another spirit speaks up. We'll say that this one is called Mila. Mila was somebody who tried to sneak into the warehouse.
Okay.
And Mila says, Jasper, you are being sneaky. You know about this squid child. Why are you not telling?
Marcy isn't paying me for what I know.
Marcy's paying you for answers.
Do you communicate non-verbally with the spirits?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm saying this out loud.
Got
But I don't think Marcy would hear it. I think this is all like taking place in a. It's like a dream. It's all in my head, you know.
I think it's also just worth saying on camera that there is this slight aerial whine in the background that maybe only the audience would know.
Yeah.
Of something up above making some sort of distant noise.
Yep.
Is that a thing that was established in the last game? What does that mean?
I believe it's our the landing on the security vehicle, and so Zen and friends have crashed onto a security vehicle and are eventually going to crash into the Mercy's territory.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're just kind of doing the countdown clock. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just adding some nonsense to the background.
Not nonsense. I didn't understand.
As you like fight with the security people on this vehicle.
I'm sorry, what?
Are there new spirits who are victims of Zen, like popping into existence as you're fighting with the people on this vehicle?
Maybe if somebody got kicked off of the platform, yeah, they're plummeting.
Like one just appears along with the others.
Yeah.
You're new.
Yeah, like still ready to fight and confused.
But it's obvious they're confused, so I don't think they know a lot about Zen. But it's definitely okay, cool, new victim.
So you're having this conversation with Mila, and
yeah,
Mercy is waiting, stroking her nose and starting to look impatient.
Right. Well, if Mila isn't going to help, I think.
Well, Mila says, do you want me to tell you what you already know? Is that what will solve for this, so that you can then share the information you've been paid to give?
That would be ideal. Yes. Otherwise, I'll just tell Marcy that you told me what I know.
Tell me how pretty I am. Tell me how pretty I am.
You were amazingly beautiful.
That is so generic. I want specifics so that you really believe it.
Sorry, I'm not like. I don't know your species' beauty standards.
What are they saying, Jasper?
So Zen has a squid child he's protecting, and in the factory, you know the factory where Zen's gang is, right? Yeah. Apparently this kid lives with them now.
Oh. Is there a way in?
There was a secret entrance in the basement. It's connected to some maintenance conduits.
Right. She passes you like some kind of a tablet with like the basic a basic map of the publicly available map of the area, and asks you to put in the.
Yeah. So I think there's an entrance to these maintenance conduits, and like it's in just an alley that's not far from where Jasper lives, which is how they know about it. And yeah, they mark a little X there,
Great.
and
Beryl, Mother Russia. She passes them the tablet. And maybe once they're off the scene is when Zen comes crashing down.
yeah, I think at this point, like Jasper is kind of subtly watching Ash out of the corner of their eye, because the thing about Ash is that Ash is Jasper's kid, and he doesn't know it. Jasper's the only person who knows this, which is why Jasper deliberately described Helix's fighting style, um, in case Mercy sent Ash, whose fighting style is like directly opposite of Helix. And yeah, I think this is when
That's the juicy good stuff right there. Did you want me to crash the scene at this point?
I think this is your moment.
yes.
Okay. I think when when we cut to the security platform, there's a couple of the guards who were knocked out, and one of them who went over the edge, unfortunately. But Zen is in the middle of like fighting someone just because that looks cool, and Diego is on the controls, like desperately trying to pull up. He's got like his foot on the panel and the controller, and is yanking back, and this thing is just diving. There's smoke coming out of the back of it, and it's diving in this like slow corkscrew. I mean, not slow enough, but this thing is going down no matter what. And I think just in a neighboring building, it plows through the roof of the building and down inside of that in Mercy territory, when the Zen and his friends look up and see the Mercy symbols on the wall inside this building. I think we need to get out of here.
Mercy says, which one is your child?
Ash.
Ash. Go see what that was. I don't know. I mean, Cass or Rich, does one of you want to play maybe Cass, because you haven't been in the scene in a while? Do you want to play Ash here?
Okay. So I would go and follow that noise. And what scene would I come upon?
I was picturing like a 2-story office building sort of thing. I don't know how much it was being used as an office building, but there's a half of a security skiff sticking out of the roof. And so it's pretty clear that somebody's crashed into the building. It's maybe not clear who, but I think it's probably obviously a security skiff. So that's there could be guards or security members, or just dead security members, and maybe some valuable gear. Depending on how you're thinking about it.
I think I would see that, and I think the fact it's like a security skiff would probably catch my eye, and I would yell back to Mercy, "We're being raided," and sort of fall back a little bit. And would Ash have a weapon? I know like dueling fixes most things. I don't know if people would walk around like armed at all times.
I mean, I imagine like you were there specifically as security, so now you're probably not only strapped, but like visibly, right? Like you're projecting the ability and intent to do violence.
Mm-hmm. So I think I would yell that back, and then I would sort of step like squarely in between the security skiff and where Mercy is, and pull out like a firearm and sort of brace myself, trying to look very imposing, and like, "You shall not pass."
That's great. I think I think Zen and the crew would try to escape out the other side of the building. 'Cause we're all pretty banged up, and this is probably a bad time to actually just make a formal challenge.
Right.
Um,
Well, let's actually can we think this through for a second?
Sure.
Because I wonder, like, there's two ways to play this, I think, or probably more, but I can think of two right now. Like, one is like, if Mercy finds you in her territory, she just overwhelms you with force and kills you here.
Mm-hmm.
But one is that you brandish the signet ring, and all of a sudden you're not just an interloper, right? You're here creating a formal challenge.
Yeah. I think that's actually probably a better scene. Yeah.
That it gets you out. That gives you the. I mean, maybe that's like a thing you can try, and we can see how it works out in play. But I'd certainly be willing to, assuming, introducing complications and things like that, seeing how that ends up playing out. I'm still feeling a little weak on the mechanics of conflict and introducing complications and things like that here.
Yeah, me too. But that's all right. We'll just tell a fun story.
I think I have not had a chance to use any of my gifts, so I'm going to use one now. I'm going to use Chimera, which we said was basically shape-shifting, and I'm going to turn into something. I don't know what.
Are you going to turn into Mercy?
Yeah,
Mercy's right there. That would be weird.
No, that would be weird. Yeah, because
or if you duck around the corner to where the building is. Sorry, I'm just throwing out BS.
Right. So I think Mercy's
a good reason to do it.
Right. Mercy's move, and you get to resolve first because that's how this works, and that's awesome. But Mercy's move is going to be to both hit the alert button so that a bunch of her gang members are running towards that building, and also make a move there herself. So I mean, Jasper, you get to act first, but just I think that's the reasonable response to Ash's call.
I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna turn into something that would blend in with what we have a lot of here.
I don't know. You mean species wise?
Yeah.
Tunnel rats? We talked about tunnel rats.
Okay, so I'm a tunnel rat. I have no idea what that looks like. That's what I'm gonna be.
And ROUS, I assume.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good. And I think I don't think Chimera lasts super long, and I don't think it's super convincing if you look at me close. But at a distance while moving, I think what else would it be, right? You're not going to assume that it's a person,
right?
Shifted. And so I think I use this to sneak around the building, and that's what I see Zen, and tip Mercy off to that Zen is sneaking out the back.
Okay, so yeah, is that a strength? Is that something that
strength? But I'm not spending a token. You feel free to.
Yeah, I mean, look, the obvious complication is that Zen notices you and realizes there's something funny.
Yeah, I'd like to lean into a weakness at this point. That if that complication is that Zen is at least suspicious of the ROUS that ran by, then I think Zen would try to make some noise and then just shove Diego and Gale. Just shove them and say, just run, and then Zen is going to turn around and go back kind of through the building, just shouting, Mercy, come out here. And is just making a lot of noise to draw attention to himself because he is more concerned about Diego and Gale getting away safely. The weakness of my, loves the gang like family. And so I think that's what I want to lean into.
Interesting. So Jasper has alerted Mercy that you're coming out the back.
Well, I was going out the back. Now just Gale
Right.
and Diego are going that way.
Right, but that means that so I think Mercy sends some gang members to grab the back. We can resolve how whether they get caught or they get free if as that becomes necessary, and comes to confront you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just making a lot of noise.
Yeah. Flanked probably, comes up behind Ash, who found you, right, and says, Ash, what wonderful treasure have you found here? It looks like we'll be able to remove the thorn today after all.
Now, here's the trick, actually. Does anyone in Mercy's gang understand Zen sign language?
Right, what kind of noise are you making?
Yeah, I think I'm clapping and using some kind of noisemaker,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would be. Maybe just firing a weapon, into the air,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get people's attention, hey, look over here. We have to look at each other to be able to communicate. So yeah, I can. By the way, I'm open to this going very poorly for Zen.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the risks involved here, so that's fine. So yeah, I think that's it. Zen's making a lot of noise. Obviously can't shout at everyone, but the effort to draw attention to himself.
Is Natanya still there?
Natanya bailed out with
Oh, that's right. Yes.
with Hallows, and they got to use the drop pack.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think Zen is just walking out of the building, trying to get whoever's attention he can get.
So just a question here in terms of spotlight and player time. Is this maybe a good moment to cut as this at this kind of cliffhanger moment where Mercy comes up behind Ash and makes eye contact with Zen, and maybe to see what's going on with Hallows?
So I think for Hallows' next scene, we kind of said Hallows and Natanya got away, with the chameleon fabric and the jetpack and all of that. I think that I don't have anything to take back to Lenny right now. And I think we've kind of established that my people are very big about bringing things of value as something that's important to sort of maintain or strengthen a relationship. So I think I don't know, we need to play out landing, but I think Hallows' question, or what Hallows needs to determine, is I need something valuable to give Lenny. Otherwise, I've just failed and screwed up yet again. And do Omega and Lenny know each other? Would I have seen Omega at Lenny's at any point?
Yeah, Omega has worked for Lenny, and then something went pear-shaped, so Lenny doesn't really trust Omega right now, and so Omega's trying to figure out a way to make up for that.
So I think maybe Hallows would want to go looking for Omega to kind of play on that we're both exiles moment, and I need your help making things right with Lenny. So I don't know where I would go looking for Omega or where I might think to find you.
Probably online.
Okay.
Probably be the easiest. I think that's where Omega feels safest with meeting strangers, although yeah, you're not an entire stranger. Yeah, definitely online.
So what would it look like when I meet you online?
Last time we just went with kind of like the Tron cycle maze, from the Tron movies, so something along those lines. If is that a visual reference that you're familiar with? If not, we can come up with a new one.
Yeah, I just needed to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I imagine I asked Natanya to come with me as my apprentice's apprentice, so that Natanya could pass on this information about building trust with new people to my apprentice, who is Zen. And so I guess for the scene, I would be trying to. There's no way for me to track Omega really without you knowing, right?
I just kind of looking at the strengths of the character. Probably, I mean, I'm okay with. I haven't done any weaknesses whatsoever. What are my weaknesses? I can't even remember. Hold on. Vengeful victims, dire reputation, shadow past. No. Inscrutable is about the only thing that would say that Omega's hard to track down, and doesn't mean it's impossible.
So I think maybe you become aware of me searching for you online and saying your name to Natanya of like where should we find Omega? Like I don't send out a direct message to you. It's probably maybe you become aware of like sort of the noise of like I keep searching for you in places and not finding you, and I'm sort of throughout it lecturing Natanya on how to find your enemy who is difficult to find, as I'm sort of searching around.
Has Omega maybe bugged the communicators of our gang?
Sure. I mean, Natanya's the communicator, so if I bug her and hear what she says, I know what you're saying.
So probably with whatever you're doing, you just hear this like ongoing chatter of me saying to Natanya, now we checked that first place, even though we knew that they would not be there, to create a confusing path should anyone be trying to track what we're doing. You need to approach your prey from the side very steadily, so any who watch you are very confused. But I know exactly where Omega is. Omega is not that way. And I'm like, you kind of hear that chatter just going on for a while.
I'm going to try to locate you and observe more closely. How hard is it to find Hallows or Atanya?
For Hallows, I don't think I'm used to being subtle online, so probably easy for me. I don't know how hard it would be to find Natanya.
Well,
Okay.
if you have Natanya bugged, I think that's
True.
just a
right.
dunk.
Mm-hmm.
If I could invoke the what's it called, community aspect of this, I'd love it if Hallows and Natanya had sort of stumbled across a a foot-borne street parade sort of thing, like where people have the like paper mache puppets and sort of the dragons that have several people holding them up, and there's just like this raucous thing going by that you've like turned a corner, like what neighborhood are we in? And I'm just throwing that in as a little bit of flavor.
I like it. And then after a while, I turn to Tanya and say, okay, it's your time. Show me everything you have learned. Show me where Omega is.
Natanya is not going to find me. What do you want? And then we're in VR, so Omega will kind of flicker up as almost like a hologram. Brings you here. And why are you working with Zen's gang? It's very dangerous. He's quite reckless and foolish.
Yes, exactly. I am. Zen is my apprentice now. I'm going to teach him discipline and the art of making a fearsome impression that befits a war leader. We just started. There's much more work we must do. So the reason I'm here is, well, I don't know very many people here, and I made a deal with Lenny, and the person, well, it didn't go as I entirely expected. I tried to negotiate, as you do. You threaten them and intimidate them, and then they shower you with money. They did not respond that way, and then Lenny's goods went off a bridge, I think, and, well, I need to bring him something to show that I have not taken all his money and lost it foolishly as a child would. So I thought perhaps with your knowing this area a little better and perhaps needing to build some alliances of your own, we could brainstorm some solutions of how we might impress Lenny with our ability to gather that wealth that he seems to love so much.
Where are the goods that you were supposed to transport? Or were you just taking them from someone else?
No, I was supposed to sell them, but they were very unreasonable. They did not negotiate as you should. And Zen's gang took the goods. I don't know what happened to them. They disappeared.
I've also had troubles with Lenny. He's very unreasonable.
Is it something about the people here? They don't seem to understand the proper way of doing things.
Their way is different from our way.
It'd be so simpler back home. I could just, take someone's limb. They would give me money to get the limb back. It's just straightforward business.
Exactly. I'm glad that you understand. I will help you try to get Lenny's favor back.
You have a way of accessing this money he cares for?
No. However, the Sisters of Mercy, perhaps, so you are now the commander of Zen and his gang.
I am the senior war leader.
And I looked at Natanya, like checking in. Is she Farbot or is she?
I don't know. Should I voice Natanya or does somebody else want to? I'm fine either way. I don't mind if someone else wants to.
I think it makes sense.
For me too? Okay. So I think Natanya says, well, I don't know what arrangement she and Zen may have come up with, but she's certainly proven herself. She knows what she's doing. And with Zen not here, I know I don't want to be in charge. I guess that makes the most sense.
Well, the easiest access to money that would impress Lenny is there is things of Sisters of Mercy. We take what they have, and since you are effectively commanding Zen's gang, then you should take the signet ring from Zen, challenge Mercy, and I will kill the rest of the gang. Once they're wiped out, then I have a number of things we can take. This is how things work.
This sounds good. Perhaps Lenny can expand his operation into the abode of the Sisters of Mercy. And anyone who adopts a name such as Mercy, they should be challenged, should they not?
I think that it is some kind of joke.
Ah, I do not understand the humor.
Like, as if have you ever met someone who is very fat and you call them tiny?
I do not understand that logic.
It's very funny to some people.
I look
Well,
over at Natanya and I'm like, is the name funny to you?
from what I understand, the Sisters of Mercy are quite ruthless, and I will admit I find it funny.
Interesting. Well, then we shall challenge them and we shall wipe them from this place and we shall give all they have to Lenny.
Well, I could imagine us keeping some of it for our own improvement.
That is not how tribute works. You must make all of the tribute.
Is Lenny in such a great bargaining position?
He is
I
not
sort
your
of
warlord.
Yeah, I sort of sigh and I'm like, I start to see why your gang has no friends. You need to form better alliances.
Hmm. Well,
Omega thinks to himself, and now perhaps I know why Hallows is no longer a warlord.
Is that a good place to end the scene?
I think so.
Yep.
So we haven't heard anything from Lenny.
Like I said, I think the moment to bring Lenny back into this is like when the survivors come back from the mercy scene.
Okay.
If it sounds like Hallows and Omega are gonna head over there too. Is
Okay.
that the sense I'm getting? Am I right about that?
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone except for Lenny is converging on this one area.
Right. I think maybe whether that ends up being today, like the last scene tonight or the first scene next session, I'm okay with it. Like I said, I've been playing Mercy, which is also
Cool.
a fair amount of spotlight, so I'm comfortable with that. And I think letting this play out will make like the spider, in the background, sort of
Right, yeah.
this is what my web has wrought. Whatever it ends up being, I think will be
Right.
like a fun place to bring Lenny back. But unless you think there's like a particular reason why it's a good idea to pull him back in.
No, I like your idea. Although if there's anything that like Lenny's previous machinations would have affected, feel free to jump in.
Right.
Like,
I mean, so
no,
like
I did this. So
yeah, checking in might be good. I think so. By now, I imagine Lenny has heard from the last part of the name is Cough. Myerscough has probably heard from Myerscough, and so like whatever communication devices Hallows and Zen have are probably ringing off the hook. We could maybe retcon and say that's part of the reason why like Hallows isn't answering, because I mean, does that make sense? Because she wants to come back with tribute in hand.
Yes, I think maybe in the past Hallows has answered a similar call like that, and Hallows is not good at talking, so Hallows is just going to bring you money.
Right. And Zen, as we've seen, is quite obviously too preoccupied to answer his phone.
yeah, Zen's phone is probably in the wreckage of that.
Yeah, I don't think I have a phone moment right now.
Right. So I think Lenny is mostly like making calls to contacts to see if he can make good on the delivery, if he can like salvage that relationship. But it's all kind of happening in real time. trying to talk down security from coming after him. They went rogue. They stole my shit. I think that's sort of the background stuff that's happening now. But that doesn't need to be like on camera, I don't think.
Cool, that works.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, whose turn is it? Is the I don't even know at this point.
I think we're probably back to Zen.
I think we are. I think so.
Okay. I can do that.
Right, we left at that sort of cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
You calling out, like you confronting Mercy, and Ash. Just trying to like remember the scene, and Jasper is in the back in something in the form of something vaguely tunnel radish, while Diego and Gale are trying to escape out the back. Mercy has sent people back there to collect whatever's back there at Jasper's call, and I imagine Helix and a couple more of Mercy's goons have now made their way. Like you're facing your Mercy is in a position of strength.
Yeah. So I think I was thinking about this earlier, and I imagine like it doesn't work that well, but Zen has a version of a like a local translator, like an electronic thing that he can do sign language, and it'll do like basic translation words, but prefers to be with Netanya because she actually understands the nuance of what he's saying.
I mean, we could maybe also just have Home be here.
Oh yeah, that's true. If Home could chime in as I'm trying to sign at people, and they're like, "I don't know what you're saying."
Yeah, like maybe there isn't, like, this is an old abandoned building. There probably isn't that much like functionality to the AI here, but like cameras and speakers.
Well, if it wasn't abandoned before, it is now.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Just if we want to simplify, like if you'd rather have the more limited communication because you think that's interesting, we should do that. But if it's just a question of like smoothing things over.
Well, I don't mind leaning into the difficult communication. It's something I made for the character, and I don't mind standing by that. So,
so let's do that.
But yeah, I think as people are closing in, Zen holds up a fist with his ring. It's kind of like trying to show it, and also like signing with one hand, and then goes back to signing with both hands, and everyone can see the ring flashing on his blue fingers, and there's a lot of signing, but the translation either through Home or what is along the lines of "I challenge," right? I come here to challenge, and I challenge you.
What's the image? What did we decide? What the signet image is?
No, I can't remember exactly what we had decided. Maybe some like cubes on like in relief, a couple of cubes on top of each other.
Okay, so I think Mercy sort of like waves back her people, and then beckons you closer.
Okay, I'll Zen goes up, and it's like double checking he's not about to get shanked, but is pretty sure that's not what's going to happen. One second, hold on, I'll be right back.
If anybody wants to like jump in with ideas or complications, like I don't need to own this scene opposite Zen. Like Jasper, you're present. The other two of you are on your way, and also just like we're all co-GMs here. So if anybody wants to like,
right, and if any, I think several are. Well, I think potentially any of the situations except for the above could be involved here.
right.
But particularly community and gangs.
Right. And for that matter, if we want to bring in the above, there's Myerscough and security after.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Myerscough.
Myerscough, yeah,
Mhm.
and security after these people. So, yeah. So Mercy beckons you.
I didn't mean to come here today, but I understand the necessities of territory, and if it has to be this way, then I challenge you. And I have the symbol to do so.
She looks at you. She like tilts her head, strokes her nose, and says, "You now have the standing, although," and she sort of like looks around. "It's laughable that you would do this here." Very well. Cass, gangs, how does it, or just everybody, like, what are the rules of dueling? Like, how does this work? Who sets weapons? Who sets, like, champion? Can it be delayed? Does it have to happen on the spot?
Mm.
I have
I like
many
to-
questions.
I like the idea that one side would set weapons and one side would choose their champions. Like, you wouldn't even necessarily get to pick like this person and this. I offer this person to duel.
Interesting. I could also imagine the challenge being set for, like, I challenge you. Okay, well, Tuesday we'll do it at lunchtime. I could imagine that being a part of it as well, and then the gangs have like a temporary truce until that goes on. Something like that.
I think that's how it normally works. Whether it works that way this time or not,
That's fair point. Fair
are
point.
like in this building and stuff, but
Maybe that'd be my question. Is it seems like Zen doesn't actually know how this works. So does Mercy take advantage of that fact, or is Mercy gonna like follow the usual way of doing things?
I mean, I don't want to. I mean, Jasper, you know Mercy's gang. Like, what do you like? How is here's the question, right? If Mercy's not going to follow the rules of dueling, and there's nobody here to see, then Mercy's probably just going to kill Zen, right?
Up until now, Mercy seems to have followed the rules. So I'm guessing that she would again, although this is kind of extenuating circumstances, but I don't know that.
Oh, home is watching. That is an excellent point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it could all be recorded.
And like shown on every screen in the below.
Right. So I think
and Jasper's gone. That the ROUS is left at this point.
No, the ROUS is lurking in behind the wrecked vehicle. But yeah, I think maybe it actually is being shown on every screen in the below right now.
Oh, okay.
Is there a way? Yeah, I think.
There we go.
I think like, here's how this works. Maybe, all right. Mercy walks up to after the challenge. Mercy walks up to Zen and like pulls a knife and puts it like just below his chin. And before she can do anything, one of her lieutenants like rushes in, like, because she's something, right? And like whispers something in her ear, and she saying, "This is being broadcast." And so she lowers the knife, turns around, and says, maybe she even identifies where the camera is.
Yeah.
And says,
what if instead of an assistant, Mercy's watch like buzzes with a live stream notification?
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. And so she looks up at where the camera is and says, "Very well. But since your challenge is irregular and you have violated my territory, the usual delay will not be observed. This happens here and now today."
I understand. I did not mean to crash a skiff into the roof of this building. This is accidental, but I also understand that it's a breach. And I will stand by these rules if it means that my gang will be represented well.
And she looks around. She says, "Well, you obviously have no champion, so choose weapons."
I think I choose no weapons.
Hand to hand. Very well. Helix will represent me. And
Is
then
that so?
Does somebody want to jump in here, or do we want to just start the fight?
No, but someone may notice the tail of an ROUS like disappearing when I hear that the name Helix right there.
Do we know what the stakes of the duel are? I realize we haven't really.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, except that the territory is ceded to Zen's gang. I was thinking Zen would offer to absorb the Sisters of Mercy into their gang because also they need more numbers, but I don't know that that's necessarily part of an arrangement usually.
Right. I mean, maybe this is. Tell me what I find it hard to believe that a duel like this would be like all or nothing. Right?
Maybe. I mean, I think the idea behind the duels was we were trying to cut down on the all-out gang wars, and that if we could resolve situations semi-civilized.
Right, but if you have a duel where it's all or nothing, then there's still a gang there, right? Like, what's that gang gonna? It doesn't. I feel like. Tell me if this makes sense. Or we could say that everyone just agrees that the gang gets absorbed, and then there can be a power struggle within the gang as opposed to an external power struggle.
Yeah, maybe that's like the normal thing is that the gangs combine with the winner as the leader.
And maybe it's a little bit like, oh, my brain just lost the word. Like you absorb them, but almost like they're a little bit independent, but they have to pay tribute to you, and like you have kind of final say over what they do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like vassals. That totally works within the structure of where we've been heading. Yeah,
especially with mimicking that aristocratic structure. Yeah, that absolutely works.
And I assume there's like a time. Whatever. This is that. Now we're getting to details that don't matter for the story we're telling right now, so we can save that for when it becomes relevant.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Does someone else want to play Helix? I've been center stage for a while, or are your primaries going to come in a second, and so I should stick with it?
I will decline playing Helix.
Yeah.
I'm curious about a complication, but I don't know if this would be interesting for the story or not. Which would be, is it Ash? Is that the name? Sort of wanting to convince Mercy that I should take the challenge, to sort of prove myself.
So, I mean, I think that's a question for Jasper, right? I feel like that's sort of like Jasper's entanglement there, right?
Yeah. I feel like I think either way would work, and either way would would be a problem for Jasper. So, uh,
And we also had that background scene where it came up. I can't remember exactly how we got to this, but that it was that Jasper was feeding Zen the false information that Helix would be the one to fight.
Mm-hmm.
let's follow up on that. I think that rather than, although it would be really interesting if, to like turn it back again and have Ash be the one to fight. But maybe keep it slightly simpler than that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Well, and it also includes things like if we do go with Ash, then Zen and Jasper are going to have the conflict of like, why did you tell me it was going to be Helix? So it just depends on what part of that you want to lean into.
Problem for Jasper.
Okay. Yeah. Either way, it's just.
Sorry. So what's the decision there? Sticking with Helix or going with?
I think it's whichever that you think would be more interesting for Jasper to kind of have to face the music on.
Yeah.
I think because Jasper has been not part of Mercy's gang, but definitely tied more closely to Mercy's gang, having to face Mercy about this a bigger deal for them in the long.
Got it.
So just to make sure I'm tracking, my understanding is that if Zen fought Helix, Zen would have some sort of clear advantage.
Yeah, Zen knows how Helix fights.
Right. So then, if he fought Helix, it would be clear that Zen had some inside information, and so you're saying Zen should fight Ash?
No, I'm saying Zen should fight Helix.
Oh, okay.
All right. So just no. Let's just play it out. So what's this look like? So, like Helix shrugs off the shoulder holster that he's wearing. I think his pronouns are he, him, that he's wearing, and hands them off to another one of the sisters, and kind of like he's a big guy, right? This is a hand-to-hand fight. He's like, close to 7 feet tall, big kind of rock monster alien. Right. I'm a little bit picturing like Colossus, but taller.
Yeah.
With that kind of like flat top.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like flat top haircut.
What was the guy's name from Thor Ragnarok? The guy from the jail. Thorg or so Tharg.
Yeah, like a little bit less like I feel like he was like made up of boulders, right?
Yeah.
So this guy's like one solid solid bouldery, right? Like a
Korg.
Yeah,
Korg.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Carved out of rock, and kind of like does that thing where he cracks his neck, and approaches you.
And I think to make use of our well, first of all, Zen is like just like the tatters of his burnt shirt, from crashing, just pulls the rest of that off, so he's just naked to the waist. And to make use of my strength, I do have one token now, so I was going to make use of our high-tech armory, if it makes sense for everyone, for Zen to like pull a inhaler out of a belt pouch and just do a whatever it is, some sort of combat enhancer, thing like that. Whereas like I'm still unarmed, so
Sure.
So I think that the important thing about what Jasper told Zen about this then is that Helix does not look fast.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Jasper told Zen specifically he's really fast.
Yeah, I remember something like that coming up. So yeah, I think that's going to be the huge advantage is everyone expects Helix to be this big, slow, behemoth, but he's actually real quick. So Zen is able to anticipate that. Also, it just sort of like amps up his own, fighting abilities and is probably quick and just even to try to get the first hit too is just like snaking in and is quick, with these sort of. I wouldn't say it's this beautiful flowing martial arts style. It's rooted in efficiency and just martial brutality.
Right.
But
you've got all the fictional positioning to win this year.
Yeah.
So like you should just say like, how do you kick his ass?
All right. Does that work for everyone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the ability to get in there and use Helix's surprise that Zen knows how fast he is, like waits for Helix to make a move and then ducks under, brings the arm down, like breaks Helix's arm over his shoulder and then sweeps the leg because you have to sweep the leg in a fight like this. It just like goes circles around him, which I mean Zen gets beat up too. Like he's got a black eye and the big purpley bruise across his he doesn't have a mouth, but across that patch of his face, his shoulder is dislocated briefly, but it pops back in, and the combat drugs help him just sort of push through that, and eventually brings the guy down. Now, I guess the question is, does Zen have to kill this guy? Is that how these things are resolved?
I don't think he has to.
Okay.
Right. I think there's like maybe two quite. Actually, you should just.
Okay. Yeah, I think given the opportunity, given how control he is, how much in control of this he is, Zen is able to put Helix down and get him in a submission hold, this arm behind his back, and Helix is just face down in the dirt, and Zen is looking at Mercy, and just nods, like his hands are busy, they can't say anything, so he's looking at Mercy like, "Are we done?" But he can't actually say that.
Yeah. So Mercy says through gritted teeth, "Would you like your first tribute in turf, cash, or favors?"
So Zen releases Helix and signs turf that we share. Let's make our two turfs one turf.
Making that work will be difficult. But now the conversation is open.
And you know where to find me.
I guess that's that scene.
Yeah, unless Jasper wants to get in on that as Zen's leaving or anything like that.
Also, presumably presumably Zen is going to get back there and find Winky gone, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's part of
that's leverage Mercy will have in like you will get your tribute. You won, but exactly what that looks like still has to be negotiated.
Yeah. What's Jasper's contact there?
I think Jasper is being manipulative and secretive and just like watching from a hiding place. ready to intervene if necessary, but this was shockingly like not one person died here, and I think Jasper's okay with that, and they're not gonna do anything.
And just to have it logged in my brain, Zen never saw Jasper there, if I have that right.
Zen saw a
creature,
looking creature, but didn't see that it was Jasper.
Okay, good to know. Okay, well, I think that's that scene for me. And for my part, since I can't be back next week, feel free, to include Zen however you like. I think we have a pretty clear idea what kind of person he is, but also could be, back at the factory, kind of regrouping, licking his wounds, also like dealing with the sort of the paperwork side of, taking over the territory. So it's fine to fridge him or, whatever you want to do there.
You ended on a high note. That's good.
Yeah.
Yay! I thought Zen was going to get mushed.